Now, I've never done a video like this before. Hopefully, I'm never going to do one like this again either. Now, before we get into this isn't a feel sorry for me video. This isn't a cry for help video. This is I want to cuddle off everybody video. This is nothing like that. And I wouldn't be making this right now if I didn't see a random interview where someone was talking about anxiety, and it made me realize how deep in the shit with it I really was, and that I needed to get help. So this really is me just laying that forward. I mean, without that interview, I wouldn't have got help, and I'd be in a really rough place with it still. And hopefully now this is my way of paying that forward. So about 3 years ago, I started getting anxiety. And at first, I really didn't know what it was. I wasn't sure why I was feeling this way. And it's weird. Anxiety is so freaking weird. Because it sets off over the littlest things. Now, the first year, I just kind of, just said, it's normal. It's one of them things. I just kind of brushed it off. I just didn't try not read too much into it until things started getting harder and harder to do. And last year was, I had it. It was there, and it was getting worse, and it was getting worse. And I knew it was getting worse, but I just didn't want to accept it. I was like, this shit doesn't happen to me. Things like this don't happen to me. I'm not mentally weak. I can handle this. I can get through this. But it was slowly turning worse, and you kind of get to the point where you don't want to go places. You just want to go in your house and lock the door, and that's that. But for me, a few weeks ago was my lowest point with it, and it was this point. It's like, dude, I've got to get help. I've got to go get seen, because I cannot carry on like this. And this is how bad it got. Now, if you want to aware what anxiety is, I'm gonna explain it for you. So, we've all had a point in our life where we've been nervous about something, whether it be joining a sports team for the first time, whether you're getting all amped up because, I don't know, maybe you're about to get in a fight, or maybe you're about to go on that big roller coaster for the first time. You've got the butterflies. The butterflies are there. We've all had them butterflies. You're going on a first date. You're going for a job interview. Yeah, you feel it. You're building up. Your throat starts drying up. The butterflies are going crazy. You feel a little bit nauseous, a little bit sick. Your head's going at 100 miles an hour. You get that feeling. You know that feeling. We've all been there. It's called the fight or flight mechanic, where the adrenaline really gets going, and it's at that point then it's like, you feel it. Now, imagine getting that feeling when you want to go get milk on your way home from work, when you need to nip a supermarket, when you need to get the petrol, having that build up, having that nervousness, having them butterflies about every little thing, and then that progressively getting worse. So it gets to the point where you've got them butterflies, you've got them little bastards in you morning, noon, and night, and there is not a switch off. There is no turn off to that. For every little goddamn thing, you are feeling nervous, you're feeling anxious, you don't know if you're coming or going, and you just feel sick to your stomach all day, and that was the point that I got to. Everything was a big deal, whether, like I said, it just be something as simple as nipping the shops would get me so worked up. Honestly, like going to get milk after work, that's like the Holocaust to me, and I know that sounds dumb. And believe me, I know it sounds stupid, but that's what it's like. And that's why it took me so long to come forward with this, because I'm thinking, this is dumb. This is fucking dumb. But it's not. Because it's an illness, it's a mental illness, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you get the questions, why? Why is this happening? Why am I at war with my own mind? Why isn't there a switch off with this? Why am I worried about certain parking spaces? Why am I worried about how I'm going to approach a roundabout that I approach every single fucking day? Why are these things concerning me? Why am I staying up all night worrying about nonsensical things? And that's because it's an illness. That is because it's an illness that does not switch off. This is an illness, and if you allow it, it will beat you down, and it will rip out the very core of you. It does, and that's pretty much what it did to me. I felt lifeless. I felt soulless. After, like, nearly 3 years of dealing with it, I thought I was just always running from it. I was always hiding from it. I was always pretending. that it wasn't there, and I was embarrassed, and I was even ashamed, because even those things that I've just said to you right now, I felt ashamed of it. And I just like, it makes you look pathetic, it makes you look weak, and you can't understand, you can't comprehend why you're doing this, why your mind is doing this to you. And to this day, I still don't know the answer to that. But it's something that I needed to get looked at. Now, anxiety is usually linked with depression, and depression is something that I don't have. But I could kind of feel it getting that way, because I was not sleeping. It would keep me up all night long. I was running on an hour to 2 hours sleep. We're getting to the point where it was a couple of weeks ago. I didn't want to leave the house. I was so nervous just about leaving the house and going to work. Something that I've done every single day for nigh on 10 years now became a huge hurdle, to the point where you just didn't want to go anywhere. You didn't want to leave the house. It was bad enough before, but now it was worse. And at night I could feel it eating away at me, and it's awful. It's fucking awful. But I got help. You know, I hit rock bottom and I got help. And this is... Don't get to that point. You don't have to get to rock bottom before you get help with this. Anxiety is not something to be ashamed of. And I was ashamed of it, and that was stupid. And I pretended that there was nothing wrong for so long that when I actually came out and told people about this, they were like, nah, you're fucking with me. Like, you haven't got anxiety. Don't be stupid. It's like, no, I have. And you had to explain it time and time again. And again, it makes you feel awful about it. But again, it's nothing to feel awful about. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's just something that happens. Why it happens, I don't know, but it does. And it took me way too long to come forward and talk about it. And it is a mental illness. It is somewhat a disease. And do I know if I'm ever going to get better? Only time's going to tell with that. But I went to see a doctor, and I was amazed how easy that it was. And basically what happened is, so a couple of weeks ago now, I was like, yeah, you know, I've got to go see a doctor. I was just, like I said, I was broken. I was just a shell of a person. I was just going through the motions, and any little thing that would break away from that would get me really worked up. And like I said, I'd let it run on for far too long. And so I ended up going to see a doctor, and he was asking me about things like depression and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I don't have depression, you know, that's not an issue, and I know that the two are usually linked, but it's like, no, I'm a happy, upbeat person, alright? It didn't take away from the fact that you're happy. I'm happy within myself, and that was one of the biggest questions I got asked by my family. What have you got to get nervous about? You know, financially, I'm doing fine for myself. I don't worry about paying my mortgage. I never worry about food. I never worry about bills. I never worry about where my next paycheck's coming from. All that is taken care of. The big things are taken care of. Everybody in my family's healthy, touch wood, and I've got really nothing in my life to be overly concerned about. So why do you have it? Why is this a thing? And again, without repeating myself, but I'm going to probably drone on quite long on this one, it's a disease, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So I went and got help, and I got put onto these tablets from the doctor. And when you go and see a doctor, and when you start talking about this, and believe me, if you have it, if any of that kind of made you feel like, I get that feeling, I get them butterflies over nothing things, trust me, you've got to go see somebody, because it's horrible, it's horrific. And when I saw the doctor, and when I started getting on tablets, immediately you feel a difference. It feels like the whole weight of the world's just been lifted off your shoulders, and you have a lot more confidence straight off the bat. It kind of feels like you get like a force field put over you, and you feel it hits, and it doesn't really get rid of it. But I think, because it's kind of like if you ever have a headache and you take a paracetamol for it, you know that it's still there, but the pain's not as bad. And it's the same with this. It's like the anxiety is still there, but it doesn't feel nowhere near as bad as what it would normally do. And it's done wonders for me. I still have good days and I have bad days. I still have bad days. I mean, I'm a couple of weeks in and I have bad days, but even the bad days are nowhere near as bad as what they were. Hell, you know what? A bad day now, a very bad day now, is a great day a couple of weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like now, even with such a short amount of time with getting help, with talking about it, with having these tablets, it's like, yes, I'm on medication, and there was some funny side effects, which I will talk about later on. It helps no end. It's like, I'm already started doing things now that I would not have done a couple of weeks ago. Like, you know, if the wife texts me saying, Rob, can you go get milk after work? Yeah, not a problem. Like, I genuinely don't get worked up about that. And I've even had, scenarios like my worst nightmares of things like, oh, Rob, can you nip Tesco? And I've gone from like nipping down a petrol station a mile from my house to go in on a Friday night into a supermarket in the middle of town. You know, driving into the middle of town on a Friday night after work, and I never would have done that before. And it's been baby steps, you know, getting better. It is all about the baby steps. It's all about the little victories. And is the anxiety still there? Yes, of course it is. But I do kind of feel that with the help and with the support, I've started to get, I don't want to say get better, but I want to say that it's been nulled quite significantly, which does help a lot. You know, it helps you a lot more with your day-to-day, and you can enjoy things a lot more. And again, I know it sounds dumb. I know those things that I've just said before sound dumb, and trust me, to me, they sound stupid. You know, I was too afraid to go and get milk. I was too afraid to go put diesel in the car. But you just find ways of avoiding these types of situations, because it's not just like, oh, I'm scared of the milk. It's like you have 1,000 different thoughts in your mind at the time. What if I get home late? What if there's nowhere to park? What if the petrol station burns down? What if someone breaks out into a fight? You know, just like, what if my car breaks down? What if this happens? What if that happens? You have like 1,000 thoughts a second. And it's, like I said, it's horrible. And there is help out there, and help is easier to reach than what you think. And since I've been taking these tablets, like I said, the pain's been, the feeling of it has been nulled a bit, but it has come with side effects. Now, the side effects that I've personally had, one's quite a funny one, and if you're still with me at this point, then you'll enjoy this. It made my dick swell up to ridiculous proportions, and I am not taking the piss either. It was like I had a coke can attached to my bell end, and that was not fun. As fun as that sounds, it was not. It is not pleasant, that isn't. Those tablets give me terrible wind as well. Like, my farts could literally... Dude, they could clear out a fucking supermarket. You know what I mean? Like, they are terrible. But at first, I was having some really weird issues with... I was really struggling to understand people. I was really struggling to understand facial animations. I was really struggling to understand sarcasm. Just really weird things like that. And I lost all sense of fear as well, which is awkward. Now, I've said before, I've spoke about me being ornithophobic. Now, ornithophobic is an irrational fear of birds. But yeah, since I've been taking these tablets, I've had a bird come into work, and hell, he practically lives there now. I called him Alan, and I feed him. And I approach him on a daily basis. That fear of the birds, that flapping, that fear is still somewhat there. But, like, the anxiety, it's been nulled quite significantly. And... it's very strange. It's a very strange feeling having something that you've been terrified of for years has all of a sudden become one of your besties, and you're feeding him Rice Krispies every morning. That just does seem a little bit bizarre, but that is what it is. Anxiety is a horrible disease, and it's something that I've put up with now for way too long, and I genuinely wish I went and got help sooner, because if this thing does get left untreated and you go to like the places that I went with it, it's not easy to come out of. You do kind of feel trapped in your own mind, and that's what's scary about it. You are trapped. You feel just caught up, but you don't know what to do. You don't know who to speak to, and it's one of them things. I know the thought of talking about it and getting help is one of the scariest things ever, but you just need to. And I feel your pain on this, trust me, I do, but it's one of them scenarios where you've just kind of got to bite the bullet and get on with it. And it's one of them scenarios where you can't let somebody else take the fall for it. You can't find a way of getting out of it. You can't weasel your way out of this situation. You've just got to face the music and go get looked at and go speak to a doctor, because they'll set you up, you know, they'll set you up with a lot of things, and they'll help you out, and they're going to give you ways to help you through, because it's not just the anxiety that affects you, it affects your well-being, it affects you physically. I was getting migraines, terrible migraines with it. And like I said, because of the lack of sleep, I was getting migraines, and that was making me miserable as well. You're always tired, you're always grumpy as shit. And none of that is fun, and not only is that not fun for you, it's not fun for your family either. And I know talking about it's hard. I know talking about it to my dad was hard, to my family was hard, to my wife was hard, because they had no idea. I kept this shit bottled up, and it's like one of them things, you know, when you get really angry and you get anger bottled up, and it just builds up and up and up until it just comes out in one old bang of crazy. That's kind of what happened. My anxiety just kind of exploded on me, and it was just like I was too afraid to do anything. And like I said, I just hit rock bottom with it, and it doesn't have to be that way. So, moral of this story really is, if any of that did seem like something that you were dealing with, seems if it was something that you were struggling with, if you do have similar feelings, if you do get these butterflies, if you do get these build-ups, if you do feel nauseous about the thought of going to places, go get help, because it will torture you. Anxiety is relentless. It will not rest. It does not go away. It is with you from the moment you wake up in the morning, from the moment you go to bed at night, and even when you get into bed, that little nagging bastard's still with you. Alright, there's no way of getting rid of it without some help. I thought I was mentally strong enough to get beyond it on my own. I wasn't, not in a long shot. You know, it's just too much. And you need help of other people, you need support from other people, and it's not a sign of weakness, and it's not something to be ashamed of. And yes, I know it sounds dumb talking to other people about it, but nonetheless, it's going to work for you a hell of a lot more. And the well-being, and any doctor is more than qualified to deal with something like this. They know exactly what they're doing. They can talk you through it, and they can either set you up with counseling, they can set you up with tablets, whatever you need to see you through it. And it's helped me no end. It really has, and like, it's genuinely feel like, again, I don't know if I will ever get better or get clear of it. Only time's really going to tell with that, or whether I'm going to come off this medication for it now. But I'm hopeful that I will one day. Like, hopefully it's going to get to the point where I can null it down enough to be able to have it taken off me, taken away from me completely, and I don't have to worry about it again. I don't know, but at the minute we're in the baby step stage, and you automatically feel yourself getting better almost immediately, you know, just taking little things, you know, little things one step at a time. And where we'll go from there, who knows. But I saw an interview with Chris Kirkland, the former England keeper, and he was talking things that sounded so familiar to me, just wanting to go home, always arguing with yourself, all these same feelings. And when you see a random interview like that, I kind of saw it, you know, I'm not like a religious person, I'm not somebody who believes in things, but if you can't take something like that as a somewhat sign to go get help, then you're practically fucking blind. So this is kind of me just laying that on once more as well. You know, if you are feeling this way, if you are feeling down, not even with anxiety, if you're just feeling bad within yourself, if you think you may have some kind of depression or anxiety or any kind of other mental illness, because it is an illness, there is nothing you can do about it. And like I said, it is relentless. So whatever it is, just go get help with it. Go see a doctor. Go do something. You can't just let it sit there and like hope it gets better, because it won't get better on its own. You're gonna have to go see somebody, and if it means they put you on medication, if it means having to talk to your family about it, and look, I know what it's like. It's a real vegan at the barbecue. It just won't get out of your way, and you've got to go get help and see somebody. So if this encourages one person to go and get help, or at least consider getting help, or maybe understand the feelings a bit more, then as far as I'm concerned, it's a success, because it's not fun, and I was really struggling with it. And since I've been on the medication, it genuinely feels like I'm making progress, and the weight of the world's been lifted on my shoulders. I have been rambling on about this now for damn near 20 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Gameplay was just conquest. Nothing's been edited out of it. I didn't know how long I was going to ramble on for, so I kind of just thought I'm going to let the gameplay go and just see what happens. But yeah, if you got to this point, I really appreciate you listening to me for this long. I do. And again, I can only emphasize, if you do feel down, if you do feel anxious, if you do feel a problem, go get help, because you will be amazed how much a little bit of help off your doctor will go a very, very long way. Or just talking to people, opening up about it, will automatically just kind of get the ball rolling and get you feeling better. And then the big things that were huge deals, they stop being such big deals and they start becoming back to normality again, and you kind of feel as if slowly you're getting pulled back down to earth. And trust me, that is the feeling that you want. Normality is a feeling. You know what you want to feel when you go to a shop and go get diesel or go to a roundabout? You know what you want to feel? You want to feel absolutely fucking nothing. You want to feel like that is completely normal, and slowly that's starting to happen again. So fingers crossed for that. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, you know what 2 buttons pressed by now. I've been the Bipolar Man. Cue the outro.